Hello and welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I'm doing something a little different. When I first moved into my doll room, I had mentioned how I have so many of the historical beds that, I'd love to do a deeper dive in ranking them. Uh, and I wasn't quite sure how I was going to rank them, but I decided that since I have now moved with many of these beds several times, I've gotten really good at disassembling and reassembling them. And because I have so many of them, I thought, well, you know what? Let me just rank them by how easy they are to put together. So that's what this video is. It's a little different from my usual channel content, so please let me know if you like this kind of thing. I just thought it'd be different. And if I sound different, I'm also at my computer using a microphone, and it's not a very good microphone, so if there's any audio issues, sorry about that. Just trying something a little different. So my thought with ranking these definitely was going to be ease of assembly. I'll point out a few that were difficult to unassemble for when I was in the moving process. But for the most part, most all of these beds, the assembly was just as easy as the disassembly and vice versa. But the things I wanted to take into consideration, how many pieces are there, how many screws do you need, and do you need a friend to help you out? So um, that's sort of what I was thinking of when I wrote this list. And I've spent some time and I readjusted and things like that. But I am going to put the honorable mentions. I consider these are too easy. These beds are very simple to put together, and they're all sorts of different shapes and sizes. They do all share one thing in common, though. They are one piece. These are all one-piece beds. There is practically no assembly required. I put Kirsten's here first because she was my first doll and my favorite, and her bed is very simple. It just comes in a box. You pull it out, it's done. One frame, done. Molly's bed is the same, and this is her original bed, not her yellow Be Forever type bed. I've never owned that, so I can't speak to it. But her original bed is one solid frame. The one thing I do find weird about it, this is kind of an aside, is that you have to like they Velcro the mattress to the frame, and the mattress pad, or like the comforter, is Velcroed to the mattress. I'm still not sure how the doll is supposed to sleep in this, but it's very easy to put together. It's one frame, put it out, you're done. Courtney's bed, while it looks intimidating, comes as one single piece. The two bunks, the backboard, the sideboard, the shelf, all of it, one single piece. That's why the box is massive, and probably why American Girl is charging that $25 surcharge fee on this. It's one single piece. So very easy to put together because you don't put anything together. I also put Kaya's here. I'm not including her teepee in this ranking because I don't consider that her bed. It's more of a structure, but it's also very easy to put together. Kaya's bedding is it's a mat, and you put the fake fur skins on top and you're done. Very simple, very straightforward. Mary Ellen's is also a one piece. Hers is a sofa bed, but it does come as one single piece. There's no assembly required. It's a box. You pull the sofa out and you're done. I am putting this sort of at the end of the easy list. There is something you have to do if you want to transform this into a bed, and I do recognize that having grown up with a sofa bed, this was super simple for me. I understood the concept right away, but if you've never done a sofa bed, it might be kind of tricky. So the first thing you do is you lift up the seat pads. In my house, we pulled all the cushions off, but this case, it's one solid piece, so you just lift up sort of the seat cushion, and you expose the bed frame underneath, and you unfold that and pull it out. It's the name of pull out sofa couch or sofa bed. I love, just a side note, I love that they have the spring indentions. I think that's hilarious. Again, a detail that wasn't needed, but so loved. But you pull out the plastic frame, and then you spread out what was the seat cushions is now the mattress of the bed. And you throw your blanket and pillows on and you're good to go. But again, all of those super simple, one solid piece. This next category is they're not one solid piece. You have to do a little, but it's not a lot. And honestly, all three of these beds in my mind are identical. Rebecca's is just one hair easier than Samantha and Kit. So for my collection, I only have Rebecca's third bed. They've made three versions of a bed for Rebecca, and I have the third. I can't speak to the first or the second, but this one is very easy to put forward. It is three pieces. It is a frame, a headboard, and a footboard. What I love about this is that the frame has legs already attached to it, so it stays upright, and then you just click in the headboard and the footboard, and you are good to go. Very simple, very straightforward. Samantha and Kit's beds are identical. They are also three pieces, but instead of having the frame have the legs, the headboard and the footboard have the legs. And so this little barrel piece that sticks out, you can probably see it better back here. The frame sort of just falls into that hole. There's like a hook on the frame and it falls into that little barrel, but it is gonna slant when you get the bed, whichever board you decide to do first, head or footboard, it'll slant, and then you have to use two hands to hold it up. So that's why I put Kit's and Samantha's as slightly harder than Rebecca's. It's just because you have to use two hands. You could probably do Rebecca's with one hand and no problem. Here's Kit's bed. Kit's bed is the same idea. Headboard, footboard, frame. The one thing that's really cool about Kit's bed here is that this frame will fold out and it becomes a double bed, which I think is really awesome. One thing to note, if you are in the market for Kit's bed, the frame is very fragile in that it bends very easily. I have actually owned 3 or 4 Kit beds in my collection history, and most of the time the green channels that are the frame of this bed have been bent. I think this is the best looking one I've ever owned, so I'm happy to show you in this video. So the next category is screws are needed. So this is Melody, Josefina, Addie, Claudie, and Nanea. All of these need screws. So these are actually ranked in ease of building. So Melody's the easiest out of these. Screws are needed because this is a two-piece bed. You've got the frame and the headboard, and you just take the 2 screws there, and you screw them in, and you're good to go. Now, I do not know why the headboard floats. I don't know why, but it does. And so that's just something to consider if you want Melody's bed. Next is Josefina's bed. Josefina's bed is 4 pieces. It has a headboard and a footboard and a frame. And the frame is screwed in to the headboard and footboard. So there's actually 4 screws. I didn't take a picture of the footboard side because it's identical to the headboard side. And then you place a board on the frame, and then the mattress goes on top. Not very difficult to do. I'm going to put Addie's bed next. So Addie's bed is very similar in construction to Josefina's bed in that it's got the headboard and the frame screws into the headboard. But it doesn't have a footboard. It has 2 separate legs. And what makes this one slightly more trickier to put together is that it's at an angle. And honestly, it's a screw. It's not that, just get a screwdriver, you're good to go, but it's perfectly lined up with the ropes. And so you feel like you're pushing down on the ropes to get the screw in. So it's just a little tricky to manipulate and maneuver. But there is no board like you would see in Josefina's bed because the ropes are the support in Addie's bed. It's a beautiful bed, highly recommend it. Next is Claudie's bed. So I do have Claudie's bed, and I have a whole unboxing, building, and review video coming up in a couple weeks. But I figured I already had it built, so I've included it in this video. It is a very heavy bed, and this one I would actually recommend, you know, if you had someone willing to help you out, not a bad idea just because it is so heavy. It's 3 pieces, so that's not too bad, but because it's so heavy, it requires 4 screws to get everything hooked together. You've got the board, the frame, I guess, the headboard, and the footboard. And the way this puts together is that you have the screws go in this way, and honestly, I don't quite understand why we only have these as cutouts, and that's what makes this bed more difficult to put together. If the whole thing had been cut out, you'd have a lot more space to put the screwdriver that they include in with the kit and with the bed. And I guess I should say that all of these beds that have screws, they provide a little hex key screwdriver to go with them if you buy them new. If you buy it off eBay, that probably isn't included, but like this one it's called a hex key and was included. But it's just this little cutout area doesn't provide a whole lot of space to actually, you know, I did a lot of balancing act, which you will see in the video, so I'm not going to spend too long on this one. It's a very heavy bed though. When I'm putting Nenea's bed here, Nenea's bed is the one that has given me the most trouble out of this category. So there is clicking assembly that you have to do. It's a 5-piece set. So I can go in here and show you. So you have to like click together everything, but then the headboard and side pieces are screwed together. I think you can see the screws there, so you can kind of see the screws there. But it's like part plastic, part wood, so some things click, some things screw, and it's a very interesting piece. I did not disassemble this bed when I moved. I tried to take it apart, but the plastic parts that click together, they are stuck together. And I was so afraid I was going to break it that I did leave this one all in one piece as I moved it. It's a very cute bed. It has the same effect of like kits where you can fold it out and have like a 2-person bed or like a day bed kind of thing. And it's a really great piece. I love the colors, but it's a mix of plastic and wood, and it just made it very difficult to assemble. So this one is like pretty challenging in terms of just really the combination of plastic and wood. But it doesn't really compare to the canopies. So the canopies are Caroline, Julie, Elizabeth, and Felicity. Caroline's is the easiest of the canopies to put together, and on my personal opinion is the prettiest of all of them. It's a traditional rope bed. It has the same issue that Addie's did with like trying to get the posts screwed in with the ropes, which was kind of interesting. But because the frame is a rope bed, it's just one piece, unlike the other 3 that you'll see in just a second. But the canopy screws on like this, very easy, and the canopy is one piece. And so overall it's 1, 2, 3, so 1 frame, 4 posts, 1 canopy, that's 6 pieces. It's not too difficult to put together. Felicity, Elizabeth, and Julie all have the same bed. It's just stylized differently, but it is the same bed. So these 3 just are kind of all together. So they have the 4 posts, they have the canopy, they have, it's kind of, yeah, so they have these 2 side pieces that you then screw. You have a screw to then, oh, well, I guess technically they don't have 4 posts. They have, I guess they're technically headboard and footboard. Yeah, so there's technically headboard and footboard, but they have these 2 side rails that you have to then screw to the headboard and footboard, and then there's also these 2 slats across to actually create the frame. So you have to build the frame as you're doing this, and then you lay the board on top like this. So ultimately that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces. 8 pieces and 4 screws. So they're not, you can definitely do them on your own. You don't have to necessarily have a friend help you out with them. You definitely get better at them the more canopy beds you build, but they are essentially all the same. And again, I do have to put the caveat, this is Julie's first bed. Julie also has 3 beds, and I do hope to get her 3rd bed at some point. I don't have any interest in her 2nd bed, but I would assume they use the same frame and that they just changed up the canopy color and like the beads and then like what the mattress and bedding look like. But I have a feeling they're all the same frame. And I don't know if you can see it in this picture very well, but the screws on Julie's bed have a different kind of cap covering. It's just this little plastic white cap that you use to cover the screw hole. So those are the canopy beds. And you know, now that I like how I described Nenea's bed versus the canopy beds, I don't know. Nenea's bed was frustrating. It wasn't hard, but it was frustrating. The canopy beds just have way more pieces. And nothing. Oh, I forgot about this picture. So sorry. One thing that will elevate Felicity's bed over the others is not the bed itself, because it's the same frame design, but her original bedding, all of those pieces had to be tied together. So, you know, I haven't really talked about the bedding in any of these, but none of them are as memorable as Felicity's. You have to tie. Each of those side panels have like 4 or 5 ties. The canopy has multiple ties. There are so many bows and ties that you have to do. It's just a lot. It's fun for like the first panel, but then you have to do it for, she's got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 panels, and it's just so many ties. Okay. Last but not least, I am calling this Whose Idea Was This? And that is Cecile's and Marie Grace's bed. Technically, this bed is Cecile's. It's how it was marketed. Marie Grace had the nightstand, and Cecile had the bed, which I thought was weird, but they share one room, so they have the one bed. And so it's this beautiful piece. It's very stunning, very different from anything else American Girl has designed, but it is the worst bed to build out of all of them. I really wanted to take it apart and put it back together for you to show you all the unnecessary design features that makes this bed so difficult. But I didn't want to. That's how much I hated putting this bed together. Now I did take it apart to move, but I hate this. I hate building this bed. So it doesn't, when it's all said and done, and that's one thing that it does elevate it once it's all said and done, it looks like one solid piece. But it's actually 5 pieces. So you've got the board here, you've got the 2 sidebars, which are separate, the footboard and the monstrosity that is the headboard. So what you can't see is the fact that the 2 side panels, the headboard and the footboard, all have a railing so that the board that you put the mattress on fits snugly. I can't lift that board up like I did for other beds. Like in Josefina's bed, you just knock the board off, it's there. You can do that with the canopy beds, no problem. This is actually slid in, and if you can see, like, there's actually little cutouts so that it fits perfectly in here. And that's great and all, except you have to hold the 2 side panels and the mattress board all together while you then hold the footboard and then screw that in. You get all of that. You have to like hold it all together to then screw in the headboard, or vice versa. You need a friend to help you with this one. I honestly almost cracked the mattress board when I was putting it back together. because I was, I needed at least one extra hand that I didn't have available. Um, it's a beautiful bed. It is just a pain to put together. And so I'm putting this in the whose idea was this category. It's a beautiful bed. Love the structure, but you need a friend to help you out here. This is the back side of it. There are screws as well. Just like Julie's bed had plastic screw caps, this one also has plastic screw caps, if you can see them, just to cover up the screws. I think it's a nice addition. Um, but yeah, and then at the very end, you tack in the little frou-frou mosquito netting covering, and that's easy, and you just click, click, done. But the bed itself, grab a friend. And so yeah, this is my ranking. I think Kirsten and Molly have the easiest. Courtney, Kaya, Mary Ellen, Rebecca, Samantha and Kit, Melody, Josefina, Addie, Claudine, Nanea, Caroline, Elizabeth, Julie. Felicity gets one up because of all of the ties, but then Cecile and Marie Grace. Yeah, so that was my ranking of the American Girl historical beds that I own. Um, there are a couple that I don't, so Molly's yellow bed, two versions of Rebecca's, two versions of Julie's, and Isabel and Nicki's, the newest beds. I do not own those, um, so I can't speak to them. I don't know where they would rank, but this was just something different to try out. So that's my opinions on these beds. Really, the only one that was difficult to take apart, Nanea, and then Cecile and Marie Grace. Honestly, Nanea's is the hardest one to take apart. It's the only one I didn't take apart. Everyone else I dismantled for moving. Um, but yeah, so thanks for watching. Again, let me know in the comments if this is something you liked, um, or if just seeing something different was good for you. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.